The Phoenix Suns had as tall of a task as anybody in the first round against the reigning champion Oklahoma City Thunder and their vaunted defense. However, with each game that passed, the Suns applied the information that they learned, ultimately doing things that we have yet to see another team do against that defense. Let's dive into the film. All right, so we start in game 3 because this is where things really started to shift in favor of the Suns on the offensive side of the ball. So got 2 clips for you from game 3, and then we'll dive into a handful solely from game 4. But first here, we're going to be just looking at the Suns in their half-court offense. You start with them working from the kind of middle third and then working outward from there. And this kind of layering of it, as you've seen them kind of do this rhyme and dance so many times all season, you just kind of get a lazy eye to the process, but the process is very intentional. So obviously you have Devin Booker working from the middle third to start the action, kind of stack out or elbow action, if you will, something they've been running with them for the better part of 7 seasons in a row now at this point. Nonetheless, it's intentional because what it's doing is ultimately freeing up this middle third area of the floor, allowing for him to come off of pin screens and picks and things like that, and then just keep himself in the middle of the floor. That's all important to note because what we're going to be watching as I let this one kind of flow through and I speak through the rest of it is them just counterpunching the Oklahoma City Thunder pressure and the ways in which they've shown over the course of the series that they want to defend Devin Booker in particular, and then leveraging that into opportunity outside of Devin Booker himself. So I talked about the stack out action. He receives the screen from Oso Ighodaro. This is good from Collin Gillespie because him setting this screen right here undoes the potential covers that Oklahoma City might want to do, which is icing Devin Booker, so trying to keep him to the outer third of the floor. And that's important to note because you already see here is Alex Caruso. As you see Jalen Green running the baseline here, Caruso is just trying to hang out just to see, okay, what is the Suns offense trying to get into? Are they trying to get into an empty side action right here? If so, I'm going to add an extra body and take away the kind of real estate that they can operate with. That's important, this screen right here from Gillespie, because it undoes that potential coverage they might want to get into while also allowing for Devin Booker again to get middle. And as he gets middle, because he's able to ultimately kind of break the leverage just a little bit, we're going to start to revert our attention over here to this backside. And I take it back just a little bit. So I talked about Caruso hanging out on the strong side just to try to see if there's anything he could break up. As he does that, Devin Booker times up coming off of the pick up top. And when he comes off of that pick up top, Dillon Brooks is also seeing that, okay, Caruso's still over there. Jalen Green's running this baseline. What about if I just screen my own man? What is that going to do to leverage everything that they're doing with their pressure on the strong side to create opportunity on the second side of the offense for them? That's exactly what the Suns do. You get a great screen from Dillon Brooks for Jalen Green. Jalen Green syncs up the timing very well off of Devin Booker's pick up top. And this is about as great a shot quality as you can ask for against this defense, especially on the rhythm and cadence that the Suns want. Jalen Green ends up getting an errant contest on top of knocking down that 3 from the corner, and that's momentum for the Suns at a kind of crucial moment of that game. Different context, but same type of situation. You got this kind of stack out action for Devin Booker. Last time he caught it, immediately got into kind of a double screen pick and roll, but now he's kind of getting into a quick handoff to Collin Gillespie. And then watch what the Suns are doing with Devin Booker. So Devin's obviously stashed in the corner. Pay close attention to only Lu Dort. And I'm just going to let this flow through. And you see how disinterested Lu Dort is in anything that's happening on the ball. That's all important to note as we bring it back because this is Devin Booker just being the decoy on this play. So you talk about all eyes on Devin, and whenever you have the ace in Devin Booker either with the ball or somewhere around the perimeter of an action, he's naturally going to have the ace defender on the opposing team attached to him. So Lu Dort is in no help responsibilities. The Suns know that at this present moment. And the way they kind of distort the shell of Oklahoma City is because Devin Booker right here is going to be kind of in the position where his man is essentially going to be the low man in this situation. And I pause it there. The confirmation here is that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is pointing, saying, hey, you low man, get there. I'm going to be kind of sneaking in to play 2 on the backside. However, because the low man has Devin Booker attached to him, he's not even thinking about being in the paint, yet alone tagging this roller like Oklahoma City likes to do in the late variety from the baseline. Because of that and the tempo that the Suns get into their action, Jalen Green comes off of it, sees a very soft 2 to the ball. There is no tag on Oso Ighodaro into this roll, partly because it is filled behind from Gillespie, but more so because Devin Booker is spaced in his corner. All of that in tandem with the Suns also moving not only Isaiah Hartenstein in the primary action, but stashing Chet Holmgren on the strong side one pass away. It removes the double big dynamic of being in the paint while also manipulating the tag from the low man where Devin Booker is, who should be Lou Dort. You can kind of tell by his late reaction to things. All of that leads to an easy catch in the paint without anybody else being in the low paint area outside of Oso. Great job from the Suns offense manipulating things into what it is they want to, taking the information that Oklahoma City gives them, leveraging that into opportunity for themselves. And again, the other confirmation is at the end of the play, you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander giving Lou Dort, well, LeBron James gave J.R. Smith a handful of NBA Finals ago. You got the palms in the sky saying, where are you at? This is where you're supposed to be. All of that confusion, all of that misdirection from the Suns is exactly what you need to do at a sustained level to get the shots that you want on the terms you want against that defense. And as we kind of transition into Game 4, what we're going to be talking about before we get to these first two clips is in specific what the Suns like to do with their offense and finding opposing bigs, moving them around action, or bringing them to primary action, because most opposing bigs, think about a traditional five, in this sense is going to be Isaiah Hartenstein. He's not a guy that's accustomed, he's capable at levels of screens, but he's not accustomed to defending primary actions to those extents. And if that gives you an opportunity to kind of poke at things and either get an opportunity directly on the ball or get something in reaction to the defense, seeing what their disadvantage is with their opposing, with their big being in primary action, it gives you a different type of opportunity. So as we get back into the film and we look at specifically these next two clips, you'll be able to kind of catch a quick beat on exactly what it is I'm speaking to. So the Suns pick up in transition. Also, Iguodala with the basketball and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander guarding him. That's the telltale number one. He has the ball. You can see already where his vision is. He's looking around to see, okay, where is the opposing big? Is Jalen Williams on this rep? They're going to find him quickly, immediately put him into action on his weak side, and then you're going to see ultimately what that does for the Suns as they ultimately bring him into primary action. So they're already poking at him. Nothing really comes of the initial attack. However, it's not always about getting the initial look, but you bring them back into it with that go screen. That creates all type of rotations. The Suns ultimately get a wide open catch and shoot opportunity on the backside of that, and it's ultimately going to be a three for them. We'll just let this one run through one more time so you can just appreciate the real-time reads and the kind of reacting that the Suns are doing to put pressure on Oklahoma City with the opposing big not being matched up the way they want it to be, and then leveraging that into opportunity in the kind of late portion of the clock, getting rotating, ultimately ends up with an overreaction at some point, ends up in a three for the Suns. And then you're going to kind of copy and paste this same context into a different light on this next possession. So this one is just Oklahoma City outright not being matched up. This is after a made basket. Isaiah Hartenstein is not where he wants to be. As you see Chet Holmgren and him kind of communicating, obviously they get to a point where it's just Colin Gillespie who has Isaiah Hartenstein on him. And the Suns are not going to let them off the hook in any capacity. You see the read and react and them just kind of opening up space. These are the kind of real-time reads with a snappy cadence that you need whenever you do find an opportunity that Oklahoma City is conceding advantage to you. Don't let them off the hook. Make confident decisions and kind of put yourself in a position to be successful. This play is supposed to be happening where Devin Booker is supposed to be setting a screen for someone in some capacity. Devin acknowledges that, okay, they got Hartenstein already in action. That's the advantage that you want, one of the few that the Suns are looking for. So he's just going to kind of fade to the background, not even get involved in it, and allows for them to do what they need to up top, get to the ball on Jalen, and Colin Gillespie ends up getting a wide open catch and shoot three-point opportunity in the middle portion of the clock. All right, continuing on with the kind of trends in Game 4 for the Suns. You get back to this kind of stack out alignment for the Suns with Devin Booker. And I want to pause it here because as we see them kind of get into action, you want to pay attention to who's where on the chessboard for Oklahoma City defensively. So you got Chet Holmgren in the strong side corner, kind of away from the paint, one pass away. And then you're going to naturally be seeing ultimately Isaiah Hartenstein be brought into action. As Devin Booker gets to the basketball, you're going to see the Suns get into their slide cuts. We've been talking about those all season and why that movement around primary action is important. You can't have someone kind of cut Devin Booker off here at the nail outside of the big because Jalen's going to be kind of sinking into this corner, and then also underneath the basket, you're going to have Colin Gillespie just kind of running the baseline. It's just kind of distorting the shell of Oklahoma City. But what it's also doing, and I brought up Chet early in the possession, is it's isolating his kind of tag responsibility. So he's on the backside of the pick and roll. He's the low man at this present moment. he's going to be tasked with not only trying to get a hand on Oso Ighodaro's role, but also because there's no one else to kind of help him or X out or anything like that on the backside, he's also going to be tasked with having to get out to the shooter. The confirmation for Devin Booker is that he has 2 hands on the roller and 1 foot in the paint, while you get this kind of feel behind from Dillon Brooks. And because of that distance that's created on top of the cadence at which the pass is being made by Devin Booker, they're able to isolate Chet Holmgren, make him make help decisions, and then put him in a 2-way closeout, which allows for Dillon Brooks to get a catch-and-shoot 3 opportunity, and he knocks that down. Let this one kind of flow through again, just for you to get a good feel and understanding for the snappy cadence, the timing of the reads, and the read from Devin Booker on the passing location and accuracy, ultimately leading to a shot for the Suns that they want. You get to this next one, it's going to be a little bit more of the same, different type of variety of it. Nonetheless, you're going to be seeing the Suns putting pressure on the defense. So you get this kind of early flare screen. This is not necessarily the action that they want to get to. This is just to kind of read and flow. And I say read and flow because Jalen Green, you wouldn't usually run a flare when you've got somebody kind of in this 45 area or even the kind of high corner. Jalen Green's going to read this flare screen from Oso Ighodaro for Devin Booker just to kind of put pressure on the opposing big here and just immediately kind of get out of there, just manipulate that space. Sees the flare, he gets out of there, and what that's ultimately going to do is going to change who the low man is. So you get this flare from Devin Booker, he gets the catch, which gets the reaction that they want in terms of putting pressure on Isaiah Hartenstein, forcing a kind of late switch situation. That late switch is forced in tandem with Jalen Green running the baseline, so because Jalen runs the baseline, that now is going to task Jalen Green's matchup, A.J. Mitchell, with being the low man and kind of protecting the basket against this Oso dive to the bucket, instead of it being 7-foot defensive player of the year candidate Chet Holmgren. This is all very intentional within the Suns, and just the snappy cadence again and the tempo at which they're making these decisions puts them in position to be successful. Oso gets a dunk within the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. Not something you usually get going against Oklahoma City, but this speaks to the Suns' offense growing, the tempo being better, and them really kind of manipulating things. And speaking to manipulating things, I start this one here because you see this early screen be set from Oso Ighodaro for Devin Booker just to kind of run the middle third of the floor. What type of pressure is that going to put on the defense? I talked about the Suns finding the opposing big, the X5, and putting them in conflict early and seeing if they can get advantage from that. After that, that's exactly what we're going to see here. Great blindside screen from Oso Ighodaro. Ultimately detaches Alex Caruso from Devin Booker, and as Devin Booker now has 2 to him, it just naturally opens up opportunity for Gillespie and Ighodaro to kind of play in 2-man, which is something that is as good as any 2-man action for the Suns. And because of the screen that Oso sets, and I pause it there, now you see the natural 2 versus 1. It's just a quick pass and get or chase action, if you will, or a hand back, something that they're really good with. But because also in tandem with that, you get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander feeling the need to gamble because he knows that they've created an overreaction early in the clock. That puts those 2 right where they want to be, ultimately puts them in position for Gillespie to knock down the pull-up 3, and he cashes that out. All right, there you have it. That's a lot of the little things within the Suns process, not reinventing the wheel, but just kind of evolving their process, not just on the season, but also condensed to that specific series against OKC. This is how they kind of got some of the results that they ultimately did in that series. Having an offensive rating of over 120 in Game 4 against that particular team is not easy unless you're tried, tested, and true in your process, but that you're also just detectives on offense and you're able to kind of just figure things out on the fly. We saw them do a lot of those things off of the principles established, and that should give you a lot of things to look forward to once they kind of have a second season under Jordan Knott with Devin Booker and company in tow, but also potentially adding some more pieces to that mix.